Tenses. Tenses are grammatical forms that indicate the time at which an action or event occurs. They help to convey when something happened, past, happening, present, or will happen, future. Here we have tenses overview. As we are familiar, there are three main tenses in English: present, past, future. Three of these divided into four subtypes: indefinite, also known as simple, perfect, continuous, and perfect continuous. Present tenses. Present simple. General sentence structure: subject plus verb. For example, I play. We use this tense when we're talking about facts, habits, or schedule. For example, that is my book. Fact. She studies every day. Habit. On weekends we play cricket. Schedule. Another examples: I sleep, I go. So this is very common tense in English. Present simple. Present continuous. General sentence structure: subject plus helping verb is, am, are plus verb ing. For example, I am studying. We use this tense when we are talking about the actions that are happening right now, on the present time. For example, you are watching this video. I'm speaking on slides. Another example, I am going for the dinner. So in the present continuous, actions are happening as we speak. Present perfect. Sentence structure is subject plus helping verb have, has plus past participle. For example, I have studied. We use this tense when we are talking about how an action from the past describe the subject now. For example, I have studied English for 3 years. I have studies is a past action, but we use it to describing who I am now. It's my experience. And we often use present perfect to talk about someone's experience or lack of experience. For example, he has done the exam already. So he has the experience. They have never been to Sydney. Lack of experience. We are using the past experience to describe the subject is now. That's why it's a present tense. Present perfect continuous. Sentence structure is subject, helping verb have, has, been plus verb ing. For example, I have been studying. We use this tense when we are talking about an action that started in the past and still continuing in the present non-stop. For example, I have been studying English for 5 years. In other words, I started studying 5 years ago. I never stopped and I'm still learning. I have been studying. We often use this tense to emphasize for ongoing actions for it started. As in, they have been traveling for 5 weeks. She has been working this job since April. So she started the work and she is still working. She has been working. So here we finished all present tenses. Past tenses. Again, we have 4 past tenses. Past simple. The general sentence structure is subject plus past simple. For example, I studied. We use this tense when we are talking about an action that started in the past and finished in the past as well. For example, he worked last evening. In other words, he started the work in the last evening and he finished the work in the last evening as well. Another example, I lived in California when I was a child. In other words, I lived there then, I don't live there now. Why? Because in past simple, actions is always happened or finished in the past. Past continuous. The general sentence structure is subject, helping verb was and were plus verb ing. For example, I was studying. We use this tense when we're talking about an action that is continued over a period of time in the past. I was studying. But more specifically, we always most use this tense to give context or background to another action. For example, I was studying when the light gone. We were living in London when we got married. As in, one action gives context or background to another action. Past perfect. The general formula for this tense, subject, helping verb had plus past participle. For example, I had studied. For example, I had studies for over before the exam. I had finished my homework. Past perfect continuous. The sentence structure is subject, helping verb had been plus verb ing. For example, I had been studying. But the past perfect continuous describes an action that continued over the period of time and then stopped at the moment of another action. For example, I had been watching TV when the power went out. I was watching when the power went out, no more watching. So here, one action stopped at the moment of another action. She had been eating sandwich every day when she started a diet. She was eating when she started a diet, no more eating. Finally, future tenses. Future simple. The basic sentence structure is subject, will plus verb. For example, I will study. We use future simple for the action that we believe will happen in the future. For example, I will go to school tomorrow. She'll be there by 8 p.m. And most of the time, English speakers shorten the word will into "I'll". For example, I'll study, I'll eat. And there is another format for future simple, going to or gonna. Most of the time, English speakers shorten the word will into going to or gonna. For example, I am going to call you tomorrow. I'm gonna call you tomorrow. So going to, gonna, I'll, will have the same meanings, but gonna and going to are more casual. Future continuous. The general formula for this tense, subject plus will be plus verb ing. For example, I will be studying. We use this tense to talk about an action that we believe will happen continue over the period of time in future. For example, we will be eating dinner from 6 to 7 p.m. They are going to be traveling all winter. Future perfect. The general formula for this tense is subject plus will have plus past participle. For example, I will have studied. We use this tense to talk about an action that will be finished in the future by a certain time. For example, You will have finished your report by this time next week. In other words, you have to finish your work of report before the next week. Another example, by the time you reach, I will have left. Future perfect continuous tense. The general formula for this tense, subject plus will have been plus verb ing. For example, I will have been studying. For this time, we are talking about a continuous action that will be finished in the future at a given time. For example, she will have been driving. But honestly, English speakers are rarely use this tense. When we do, it emphasizes the durations of an actions, how long it will take. For example, she will have been working at the company for 20 years when she retired.